Alright, welcome back guys to part 3. Let's skip the formalities and get right into it. You know who I am and I know who you are, so introductions aren't needed. So we're gonna continue with our review of the old historical footage and we're pretty much done here. Well, not really, but I just said that so you feel better about getting over with this video. So the first one I've got over here is the footage of vessel being lifted. Honestly, to me this looks like a vessel that I climbed once upon a time, but you know what, most of them, or pretty much all of them, look very similar to each other, and the only difference is some of them are bigger in diameter, some of them are smaller in diameter, but this looks like just the exact one that I climbed, and judging also by the area where it is, there's a pretty high chance that's the vessel I climbed back in the day. 80% chance, I'd say. It's always fun climbing those vessels, especially in the original plant, in the base plant. Maybe fun is not the right kind of word to use here, but it's scary. It tickles your pickle in a very unique way, I'd say, especially if you're scared of heights like me. So in the older plants, the way they had catwalks done and platforms done was quite different from our modern standards. So, for example, you would have like a vertical ladder run all the way from, like, say, maybe like 3 meters from the ground all the way to the to the very top of the vessel. And I can't really tell you how high the vessels are because I've never really measured those myself. And I've seen some heights written down on the drawings, but they never made quite much sense to me. And they were, of course, all in imperial feet units. So that's another confusion. So the story with this one vessel is there was something that piping department was doing. I can't quite remember. I think it was something related to getting rid of a dead leg, or maybe replacing piping. I can't recall very well, but we had to climb. There was like 2 of us maybe from my company, and then 1 person from either the Suncor or some other third-party company that's gonna be doing the actual work, the actual I guess executor. And so the first section of the ladder, which went, so the very first section was the plant floor. I think maybe up to 3 meters or maybe 4 meters there was like a platform, and then from that platform it was a very long run to pretty much the middle of the vessel. So like you see how here we have like this area where the vessel gets the top part is smaller, but the bottom part is bigger, and there's like that area where it kind of there's a name for it. I'm forgetting English, so I don't remember what it's called, but this part where it gets smaller, the angle part. So the ladder went pretty much up to that point, and then there was another platform, and from that platform you took a different ladder which went up at an angle. So it didn't go straight up, it went up at an angle, not too bad, but enough to make you kind of be a lot more cautious when climbing. And if you've never climbed a ladder that goes at an angle, let me just tell you that it is a lot more scarier than climbing a vertical run. And there is a very unusual kind of, your muscles get stressed in a very unusual way, not the same way you like when you climb a vertical run. And then so that angled run went pretty much to the top of the vessel. Then there was another platform just maybe like again 3 meters from the top, It was another platform, and then it was a vertical run, and then already at the very top of the vessel, you had like a platform and all the piping that come out and stuff like that. So I've never actually been at the very top. I was on that last platform just before the top because there was three of us and there wasn't a whole lot of space. And even the railing on the platform, the handrails, they felt a little bit lower than they should be. So you won't wanna stand too close to the railing there. So I was actually trying to hold on to the vessel for my dear life. So yes, I was quite scared of being up there, and and the scariest part was actually climbing. But I survived, and here I am sitting before you today. Here's a nice zoomed in view of the top of the vessel. Again, some flange connections, some holes for mounting whatever equipment, and maybe the platforms as well. There's something written on the vessel. I was trying to see if maybe that gives me an idea what vessel that actually is, but unfortunately none of it actually has to do with the way the assets are tagged in the plant right now, so I couldn't really make out what vessel that is exactly. Then we get to see how they're building the tanks. So in this case we see this guy is working on the bottom part of the tank, and then behind him on the background you see there's some of the walls for the tank were already built, which is this is actually pretty interesting because I don't even know how they build tanks, and when it comes to like how the structure of a tank actually looks like and how it works, that's actually not something I'm very familiar with. By the way, we can figure this out just by seeing, because we see the river in the background, and if we pull out the Google Maps again, got the Google Maps here, and I already know that this is the South Tank Farm, so it's probably when they were building the tanks, it's probably where either this two or maybe this. I think they built them in groups of 4 here. Yeah, so we have like this one here, and I think there's a third one we see there. So it was built as a group of 4. And because we see the river there, that tells me that this is most likely or 100% is a South Tank Farm. Not much to say here. I mean, it's crazy to see how right now we have a whole bunch of piping happening here. And then back in those days, when there was no piping, it was just basically the foundation of the tank. Which is actually interesting. Do foundations have any sort of like a concrete base, a concrete foundation they sit on? Because I don't see anything in here. I assume they do, but it's just kind of weird because even when I was up close to one of the other tanks around that area, I didn't really see anything that would give away the structural supports the tank sits on. Here's what I was talking about in terms of long vertical runs. Like we see on this vessel over here, there's a very long ladder, and that goes all the way to the near the bottom, right? So we don't even see the full of it, but you can, just by looking at this, you can kind of figure out that it's not it gets scary. And I can't tell you what vessels those are because there's just so little we see on this frame here. It's really hard to make out where exactly it is and stuff like that. And then on this vessel over here we got a couple of guys. I'm assuming they're preparing the mounts for the catwalks and platforms. Nowhere for people to walk, but I'm assuming later on in those places where there's like pieces of something sticking out, I'm assuming that's where the catwalks are going to be mounted to. And then we get to see the hydrogen reformer furnace being built again in more of a close-up view. where there's like a whole bunch of guys are trying to guide that one section of a hydrogen reformer furnace. It's a pretty big crane there too. So interesting how like this guy is guiding this massive vessel with just his hands, and it's like, man, imagine if like imagine yourself getting pinched. That's gonna hurt a lot. And then we got this structure over here, and this is, I can kind of recognize, this seems like the coker drum. I've seen this crane in other frames already, so I know that this has to do with the coker towers. But I mean, look at those guys climbing over there. It's like there's no actual platforms, no catwalks for people to walk, so they just climb just like that, and that's kind of crazy. Then we have this overview here. Again, it's the plant. In this case, it's plant 6, plant 7. There's this very big. It's really hard to make out what it is, but it looks like some kind of concrete bases. And I don't really know what are those pieces of equipment that we see there. So first of all, this is a hydrogen compressor building, or hydrogen compressors building. There's multiple compressors that sit in there, and they just compress hydrogen. So I'm assuming whatever equipment we see here sitting on those big huge bases, I think that has to do with the either the compressors or supporting equipment or whatnot. And then at the back there, I've been to that area a few times. I'm somewhat familiar with plant 7. There's this there's a vessel that kind of sits at the very end here, kind of like in this area, and you can kind of see the supports. So I'm assuming that's the supports for that very vessel that I've visited in my days when I used to work, because there was like a project we were redoing the relief line for one of the vessels, and it was in that area. The only problem is like there was like 2 other vessels. There was like a slightly bigger one and then a smaller one, comparing to the one that I was looking for. So it's either it's the base for that exact one, or for neighboring ones. And then we see those other vessels that have already been installed, and the older plant, base plant, is pretty interesting with the way they had their pieces of equipment placed, like the placement design. Placement design, is that really the best way to describe that? You see all the vessels are sitting on those concrete pillars, and they're like a T-shaped pillars. So it's a pillar, and then there's it kind of like a T-shape, and there's multiple of them, and it's a very interesting design, because in our modern plants that's not how it's done. Instead, we have like a whole entire platform dedicated to multiple vessels, and they just kind of sit there slightly above the actual platform level, just so people can go under the vessel, because sometimes there's like a manhole that people use to enter the vessel for maintenance reasons and stuff. And with this design, it's kind of unusual, because when you walk on the plant floor, all the vessels are above you, and what you got below is most of the time it's usually pumps, but the pumps are kind of located within the pipe rack area, so there's not a lot of pumps that are like outside of the pump rack area, but usually it's either pumps or other equipment, pipes that you see under the vessels. And if you need to get to the top of the vessel, then you have to look around for a ladder. You climb that ladder, you realize it's a wrong ladder, so you climb down, then you find another ladder, and well, this time you're closer, but then it turns out there's like a bridge or a catwalk that you have to cross in order to get to the right vessel, but it's for whatever reason it has a red tape on it, so then you go around looking for another ladder somewhere else, and to see if you can maybe get in from a different kind of like from a different way, such that you can bypass this red tape dangerous area, right? So such that you don't get into the dangerous area. And then we see that crane again at the background there, right where the coker drums are. We don't see the full height of it, but judging by how tall the actual coker drums are, not even counting how tall the actual coker towers are, the coker drums are pretty tall themselves, so this crane has to be tall as well, but we don't see the full height here. There's a very interesting vessel that sits up here. As far as I know, I've never seen that vessel in that area, in that little corner. So it's like, it's a place where two different, I guess, I don't know what to call them, the piping racks intersect. And in that specific area, there never was a vessel from what I remember. So it's unusual to see there. Either it was there like temporary, which is very unlikely, or either it was there for like originally, but then it got demolished or something. And then there's this very interesting. I actually don't even know what to call it, because so I normally people would either call it a stack if it has like just smoke coming out of it, or people would call it a flare if there's like a little fire that's burning at the top. But the problem with this one is that it's sometimes it has smoke coming out, sometimes it has a fire coming out. So it's maybe I'm mixing something up, but that's from my personal observations. So it's really hard for me to figure out what to call it, a stack or a flare. So I'm just gonna refer to that as a stack for now, just because it doesn't really make sense to have a flare in that area for safety reasons. But yeah, I can show you a picture. Referring back to this picture here, there is that stack over here. And the reason why I can tell it's the one, because, well, I know exactly where everything is pretty much. And there's also these two platforms here that we see on the original video here as well. You can really see how some of the vessels are, not very tall. Some of them are like slightly less in height than the pipe rock. Some of them are slightly taller than the pipe rock, and then there's like vessels that go up very, very, very high, right? It's really nice footage, because you don't. It's not very often that you get to see the piping rock, and it's in its original, maybe not original, in its empty state, when there's no pipes or anything yet. So it's nowadays it's all, you can't even see that stuff, because there's like pipes going through cable trays, and on top of the piping racks you got the coolers sitting for cooling reasons, right? And then we get to see our nice little hydrogen reformer furnace again. Looks like it's been mostly put together at this point. And I walked by this area multiple times, because this road you see here, this is it's well, somewhat of a main road where people usually walk, and it's one of the not many areas where you're not required to wear PPE, because it's, even though it's really close to the plant area, it's not actually within the imminent danger area. And the way this area is done is very interesting, because where this piping rack ends, they kind of just have like a wall, so you can't just walk into the plant. You actually kind of have to go around the whole plant to get to the permit center, and then get into the plant from the permit center area, which is sometimes it's a pain if you work in the plant. But I haven't been working in that plant long enough to actually suffer from that. And then I've got another picture over here. I zoomed in to show you where the piping rack ends. So this little place where the piping rack ends, it's the same place that we saw earlier. And And then this is the hydrogen reformer furnace with its three little chimneys on the top. And of course nowadays you can see how on top of the piping rack there's a bunch of equipment. Most of the time it's coolers, but I've seen some piping racks, especially in the modern Millennium plant, where they have like a whole bunch of electrical houses also sitting on top of the piping racks. So here we have some winter footage. We see the power plant, the hydrogen reformer furnace in its pretty much final state. We see all three of those chimneys have been installed, and you know, they were painted in nice white and red colors. And I can actually show you what those look like today, but from just a different angle. So yeah, this would be the hydrogen reformer furnace again, but that would be from the back of it, not from the front that you saw earlier. So that was like I was within the plant 6 and took this picture. And you can see how over the years the paint has well, the paint is gone at this point. So that's all there is to say. And honestly, I wonder what's the reason why they don't repaint them anymore. Just because you know, it would be really nice to have, first of all, some visual warning for whoever's flying, maybe. And second of all, you know, any coat or paint would protect the actual. I don't know what the stacks are made of, but the metal itself would probably be more protected if it was painted or coated with something. Oh yeah, and back then they did have the entire hydrogen reformer furnace covered in this plastic wrap, I guess, just to keep the insides warm. And that's something we still do even today, but the only difference is we don't use clear plastic anymore. It's more of a kind of tarp material, which is and it's all white all the time. But yeah, that just keeps everything inside somewhat more warmer than outside, which is it's just a nicer environment to work in. And you know, in some places it actually keeps the equipment from freezing up in case if it doesn't have like a heated enclosure or something like that. So, and then again we got some more winter footage here. So in this case we're looking from a different angle. So the piping rack where we're talking about earlier is over here, and we're pretty much just from looking from the north side towards south, and we can see how we can see how part of the hydrogen reformer furnace was already built, and they got this couple more pieces to put in to finish the main structure. So here we can actually see that crane I was talking about earlier for the coker drums. Not the best frame to reference, but that's kind of what we get to see. So it's a pretty tall crane. Maybe it just looks from this point of view as a very tall crane, but again, it has to be very tall to get the coker drums in place. I actually can't quite figure out from what angle this was taken from, but anyways, doesn't really matter that much, I guess.